Preparing to live stream the meeting. And there we are. Okay, bear with me. Okay. Hi there, everybody. This is John Drew here from Elevated Planet.
And Jolie Gabrielle from Elevated Planet. Thank you so much for joining us today, this Sunday. We have a lot in store for you, including a little bit about the Beatles, and John's going to tell us more about it.
Yeah, so when looking at what to focus upon this week, George Harrison, he did an awful lot of spiritual exploration. They all did, all four of them. Spend a lot of time in India, as you'll see, because I'm going to share this stuff with you very shortly. But it's really interesting when you take his perspective and you look back at what he discovered during their time in India and how it, figured in his life. But the first thing I am going to share with you is actually relating to Aveen. We had Aveen included in the show last week where she was doing her piece on the, what do we call it? The Luciferian globalists, which are showing that she was talking about the revelation of the method, where we have these beings out there who are not really looking after humanity's best interests. So that was interesting. And Aveen knows an awful lot about so many things. I mean, she is a shamanic practitioner along with a multimodal teacher and various other things, and a healer. But she is running a course at the end of May. So we thought it would be an opportunity just to highlight that. So I did a little promo video with Aveen earlier this week, and I'm just going to show you the first minute of that, because there you'll see the first little burst of what it's about. And I would recommend anybody with spiritual curiosity to check it out, because these things usually cost a lot of money. And Aveen's doing this at a, what I would consider to be a very inexpensive rate. What do you think? What do you think, Jolie?
I absolutely believe that she's giving this away practically for what she is worth. This is a true honor and privilege for those of you that can attend, because you will be in the presence of a master. I have gotten quantum light pod healing from Aveen, and I can honestly say that that is transformative. I would run and not walk to this class. And she's an angel that we have the privilege of having, in our Elevated Planet community. And we want to tell you that she's truly the real deal.
Yeah, absolutely. And for one, I don't know how many people that she's going to have tuning into this, but even despite the fact I will be away for the first 2 weeks that it's running, I'm still joining it anyway. Yes. So wherever I am, I'm going to find a way. So let me just play you the first minute of that only, and then we'll be back again. Bear with me a second. Hi there, this is John Drew here from Elevated Planet, and I am today with Aveen Murray. How are you doing, Aveen?
I'm doing pretty good, John. No complaints this end.
Good, good. So what we're looking to do here is just promote the course that you are going to be running very shortly, because I think it'd be a great opportunity.
Okay, this course is really for people who are curious to understand energy and who are delving into their spiritual development or awareness, maybe for the first time, because it can be a bit daunting if you have an awakening and you don't really know what to do with this new awareness. And that's why I put the course together, because it's a short course. It's for 6 weeks on a Wednesday evening. It's going to be recorded as well. So if anybody can't join on a particular day, they get the recording. And what I'm going to actually cover, we're going to start with what's called the auric field.
Right. At that point, we will stop on that particular one, because that gives you just a little bit of a flavor of what it's about. The full video itself is only 8 minutes long. There will be a link to that same clip on the weekly newsletter. And as ever, if anybody's watching this and they want to get access to the newsletters and the likes, then just send me an email at johndrew@elevatedplanet.life, and I will make sure that we get you on that list. and share any information that you're interested in. But certainly, that is the 29th of May. It starts on the Wednesday, 7 p.m. UK, which makes it 11 a.m. California, for instance, or whatever that's going to be. Is that 2 p.m. in Eastern? So, you know, there's plenty of opportunities there to get involved with that, and certainly comes with a recommendation from us. And let's have a look now then. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we are going to change this up, and we are going to go and explore with George Harrison. So if you just bear with me a second, we've broken this up into numerous little sections because this is really worth exploring the various bits and pieces. So again, just bear with me. I will share screen and we are cooking.
George Harrison is a man who needs no introduction. He passed away November 29th, 2001 at the age of 58. He left behind one of the biggest musical legacies of all time, but also an abundance of philosophical and spiritual knowledge. His intellect on worldviews only grows in relevance as time goes on.
You know, I'm unhappy about the world being concreted over and all the forests chopped down and the air polluted, and the fact that the planet is in the control of mad people. You know, people who are crazy, people who are greedy, all these people who are selling the rainforest and, you know, any forests, just selling it because they make some money without, you know, I'm very unhappy about that, but I have a long-term view, which is all things must pass. I mean, before it used to be maybe they're going to blow us up with H-bombs. But even that, I thought, it don't really matter. They can't destroy what's within ourselves. Krishna said, there's no time when we didn't exist, and there'll be no time when we cease to exist. The only thing that changes is the body. So even if they blew us up with H-bombs, our soul will stay in our other astral body, and the only thing that won't be here is physical. So, you know, I'm sad about it, the world, but I look at it from within and without.
Okay, so that's our first little break point there. Interesting perspective, because obviously we did talk about the Luciferian globalists last week about these higher entity beings who, and again, this all came from R.J. Spina as well, about how they can lower their frequency to come into, you know, the humanity kind of area, but they feed on the emotions of fear and the negative emotions, and therefore, and they're enormously powerful, and they're backed up by a small degree of humanity as well. When he talks about the world is being run by madmen, you know, you've only got to look at, you know, the warmongering. You've got to look at the devastation. You've got to look at the destruction of the rainforests. This is crazy. You know, the Amazon rainforest is known as the lungs of the earth, right? So what have we been doing? We've been destroying our own lungs for a long, long time. So, and it's crazy. And they say, oh yeah, well, for every tree we chop down, we plant 3 trees. Okay, right. So we're getting rid of a fully grown tree of several hundred years. And how many is it going to take another 100 years or 200 years before those trees you've planted actually replace the trees that you've chopped down? There's a lot of craziness out there. But again, what George is saying about the fact that when you know, if we all got blown up by the H-bomb, as he put it, right? All that's going to happen is you're going to lose your physical body. And this George talks a degree about the death thing here as well. And I think he explains this in more detail as we go on. But, you know, I think he's absolutely right. There is no point in fearing death. They can't kill us. That's the bottom line. That's the fact as I see it. But yeah, the craziness of those leading humanity, and we don't necessarily have to think about our government leaders, because honestly, the sad thing is, in my mind, that they are the puppets rather than the puppet masters. Scary though that may seem. But I honestly believe that to be the case. There is a small group of people, whether you call them, the Luciferian globalists, whether you call them the cabal, whether you call them some other similar name. But I think they're the ones that have been pulling the strings, and much of it has led to the destruction and the greed that we see in the world as well, from a corporate perspective as well. Jolie, anything you want to add on that one?
Yes. I just want everybody to remember that we're interconnected. And sometimes we detach ourselves from Mother Earth, right? And we detach ourselves from the things in our environment that we feel are negative. They don't affect me, but they absolutely do. And you also affect your environment around you. And so this is a very important thing to remember, or just try to tap into every once in a while to help you stay positive or have a positive attitude or reach out in love, because it will have an effect out there. Like you talked about that tree, John, of 100 years. The reason why it's so valuable is because of the knowledge, the wisdom it holds about its environment, the energy that it gives off, the nurturing, the fact that maybe there are young trees around that it communicates with. There's a network, a rooting, you see? So if Mother Earth is manifesting this, you know that you are too. And just because sometimes we can't see things, don't mean that they don't exist and they don't affect us. So I just like to lay that on the table.
Yeah, very good. And yeah, that was an amazing finding about the root system and the way that the organisms work between each other, and it's all been uncovered as a scientific fact. So yeah, absolutely 100%, Jolie. Well said. Okay, so on to next section. Here we go.
In 1968, George traveled to northern India alongside the Beatles, where they took part in transcendental meditation training with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. This is a technique George kept with him for many years to come. Although George learned more than just meditation in India, this trip also helped craft his views on religion and spirituality.
I happened to get into meditation through music, really, Indian music. And I went to India to learn a bit of Indian music, and inside I always had a desire to know about yogis, and I can't explain that one. It's just something that's been in me from some time in the past, and I wanted to know about that. So I had the opportunity to find out about it in India, and consequently that led into meditation, because really the only reason to be living is to have complete, full knowledge, full bliss consciousness. Everything else is just mundane and secondary. I wanted to know some method of enlarging my own consciousness, and that's meditation. It's been there millions of years, and knock and the door will be opened.
There we go. Okay, so again, just one of the things that I pick up on that, and I love the word or the expression bliss consciousness. We're obviously, meditation is a big part of what Elevated Planet is about, encouraging people to find their own way, or to use Jolie's guided visualizations as a way of tapping into who we really are, which this is the amazing thing about it. And this is part of what George uncovers as well, is that understanding that we are not just a physical body. We've said it time and time again, but how do you connect with the part that is the non-physical? Because again, as RJ Spinner said last week, well, he didn't say it on the program last week, but I'd heard this through in a similar interview that he'd had, where he was explaining, and again, through the fact he is a master, RJ is a master. And because he went through a death process himself and came back, he knew the answers to certain things, which are obviously just no more than a question for most of us mere mortals. But he was explaining that 97.5% of your intellect sits outside of the physical body in your higher self. So you get 2.5%, which fires up, which is perfectly adequate for this human body. It can only take so much energy. It is like your suit of clothes kind of thing, or your car, driving your car. But there's only so much energy it can take. So most of your intelligence, your past, your history, your past lives, your past incarnations, whatever. All that wisdom sits outside of you. So how do you tap into that? It's not just about the non-physical part of your body, but it's actually accessing this higher self that carries so much knowledge. So Jolie, what do you think?
I think it's really fascinating that, even him as a superstar, right? He started to ask the universe questions. He began there. And so I saw that as no matter where you are on the spectrum or hierarchically in our society, when you begin to ask the universe or question, things start to show up in your life. And it starts to kind of help you expand. So the thing to do is kind of whatever triggers you, because even me watching this, because John and I, we go through this a few times before we come on live. And I got emotional just watching George Harrison speak about his journey and how much he was kind of balls to the wall, you know what I mean? To learn this, and no matter how much he cash or whatever, he realized it's not about that. It's about connecting with the non-physical, as he says, and really bringing that to the forefront. Or as RJ said, really that's 97% of that is abstract of what we have. 97% resides in the higher self of our intellect.
Right.
So let's learn to tap into that so that we can really make decisions that not only help ourselves, but our environment. I keep harping on that, but that's so important because yes, we must do the inner work, but we do the inner work so that we can clean up our lives, right? And we can help others clean theirs up.
Yeah. Yeah. And it kind of also aligns with, you quite often have sort of information coming in, defer to the higher self. I know when you do your work, Jolie, right?
Yes, that's
And
correct.
that just shows the wisdom of actually doing that, because, that is a powerful entity out there that knows what it will always be protecting you and making sure the information that comes through is right.
Because the higher self is ancient, right? You think about your soul. And your soul, there's some of us that are babies, but there's a lot of us that are very, very evolved as a soul. So it's like maybe learning how to tap into that inner wisdom will really help us to remember how great we are and what we're capable of.
Right. Wonderful. Yeah. Bliss consciousness. That's what we want. Let's tap
Yes.
into that some. Meanwhile, we'll go back to George for part 3.
The thing that really got me interested was after being brought up as a Catholic until I was about 13, I couldn't take it any longer because it was just full of hypocrisy. The teachings of an Indian called Vivekananda, which really impressed me, he said, if there's a God, we must see him. If there's a soul, we must perceive it. Otherwise, it's better not to believe. It's better to be an outspoken atheist than a hypocrite.
And this, for me, going to India and hearing somebody saying, no, you can't believe anything until you have direct perception of it. And I thought, wow, fantastic, at last, find somebody who makes some sense. And so I wanted to go deeper and deeper into that.
The whole basis of religion is to have the experience, have that perception. So there's these methods for God perception, self-realization, which is yoga and meditation and the process you have to get from a spiritual master, somebody who's an authority on this sort of thing. And the technique we did with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi was a form of silent meditation, which, you can transcend. The purpose is to transcend from this relative state of consciousness to an absolute state of consciousness. People think this is me, and this isn't me, this is just a bag of bones. Basically, everybody is a spirit, which is really what Christ was here to tell everybody about. The kingdom of heaven that lies within, which is the state of being, pure consciousness. So, through many years of pollution
of consciousness through material energy and this association, then we've all ended up in a fallen state. But really, everybody is basically potentially divine. So yoga, all these methods are really ancient methods just to further pollution of your system and consciousness and to cleanse the system. The whole thing of purity that they talk about in religion is really a mental, physical and spiritual purity, which is obtained through discipline and through practice. So the meditation we did with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi was to sit silently and to transcend through the sense of sound. Like you can transcend with hearing or with touch or taste or vision. Like I think some Buddhists meditate by concentrating on an object, like either a garden, Japanese gardens, on candles, looking into the flame, and they transcend that way. But this method was to transcend through sound. So you're given a mantra. The mantra brings all your body to rest. It calms everything down, and it brings sort of harmony and union just to all your senses. And this way, your thoughts become fine and fine and fine until you can arrive at a point which is transcendental, which means beyond. It's beyond the senses, beyond intellect.
There we go. Next break point. So, yeah, it's better to be an outspoken atheist, right? You need to perceive what you believe. And that, I think that is really quite powerful because, you know, a lot of people, we just learn things that we're told what it is. We're told, like when I first went to church, you know, you never quite got it really. It was like some nice stories, and it wasn't that you know, you did believe, didn't believe, but you didn't really feel it. It wasn't kind of, well, sorry, you did. I didn't really feel it. I went because it was expected, but I think that the whole thing now, one thing that I've learned through the last 6 years, coming from the mainstream side of things, is that I was missing out on a huge part of life. You know, learning about the meditation, and you know, I've not done the transcendental meditation. That's another journey I've yet to take. I've not done astral traveling. There's so many things I haven't done. You know, all I've done is uncover the tip of a very big iceberg. But it's exciting because it does, you know, when George mentioned about that bliss consciousness in that previous piece, I feel that every time, you know, it's when I do the meditation, there's no happier time of day than when I just sat there and I've got this vision of where this goes in the future. I've got a vision of the love that is coming in, that is going out, and you know, anyway, that's your personal experience there that you build up over time, and it's a magnificent way of tapping into the real you because it goes beyond the physical, and that's the joy of it. The kingdom of heaven lies within. Right? That's the point. It's like we don't have to reach out to external gurus. We don't have to, you know, and that's one of the points, right, that George talks about, is that he got disillusioned with the church. The church made its money going back hundreds of years ago by putting itself in as the middleman between each person and God. If you wanted to access God, you had to go through the church, and they would put in a good word for you if you paid enough money. If you go back a few hundred years, that's the way it used to work. Nowadays, no, I mean, a lot more of those days have gone by the by, but nevertheless, nobody needs a middleman, right? That is the bottom line from my perspective, and that is what George learned along the way. The kingdom of heaven lies within. We have been in a fallen state because that's where we've been encouraged to go, you know, disempowering us, making us far less than we are, actually hands the power away to others. So this is an era that is coming to an end when we are stepping back into our power and creating our world of unspeakable beauty. That is part of where we are heading with this. That's why I have that big stupid grin on my face whenever I'm meditating, because I'm there. I'm already there. But it is a practice. You know, that's the word that keeps coming back as well. It's not just a one and done. This is how we work with this. And, you know, and the sound thing as well, which I've been doing a little bit of studying on sound healing. And Jonathan Goldman is the one who leads this particular course, and he talks you through, mantras and various sounds, and it is quite magical. Even if the om kind of note where you can use that, it really vibrates at a very strange frequency that helps you to just drop into that deeper state. It's really good. Anyway, Jolie, what do you think?
I think it's also very valuable, information, because sound and sonic and frequency, it's all very healing. I don't know if people know about, Raymond Rife and his machine.
Oh,
We've
yeah.
talked about that before, right?
Mm.
And how, there are these practitioners out there and healers that can attune to a certain frequency and blast out disease. And, this man was chased down and his information destroyed somewhat. It's still around though. And he was killed. So we know that when we
Right.
start in places like this, we know that we're starting to get somewhere that is really starting to focus on that 97% and take us higher, instead of the emphasis on the shell, the thing that's just has that 3% that we seem to be so obsessed with,
Right.
at the behest or at the detriment of our spiritual development and our development of being able to do great things as humans if we learn how to collaborate. But the good thing is we have this technology now that we have no choice but to connect with one another if we want to live full lives now. So it's a beautiful thing. And you see how Mother Earth and the spirit has a tendency to course correct. Even George Harrison is telling us about this. He began to course correct, right? His spirit, his consciousness was thirsty for knowledge. So it's a beautiful unfoldment to watch George Harrison sit in the same place we're sitting.
Yeah. I love it. Right, here we go. Next part.
People always say I'm the Beatle who changed the most, but really that's what I see life is about. Unless you're God conscious, then you have to change because it's a waste of time. Everybody is so limited and so really useless when you think about the limitations on yourself. And the whole thing is to change, try and make everything better and better. And that's what the physical world is about, is change. Change that happens through meditation. I mean, it's a gradual sort of thing. But the more you realize with anything, with just growing older, the more you realize it helps you in some way. With meditation, you're able to understand that there is this unity lying beneath everything. There's something there within every atom that holds it all together, and that in actual fact it really is one. But on an intellectual level, to say it is we are one, then, I mean, again, you miss the point. It's an experience. You have to really have that perception. Maharishi said, for a forest to be green, each tree must be green. So if you stand back and criticize the rest of the people, it's again, Christ said, put your own house in order. Automatically, if I'm to criticize somebody else, I suddenly come back to myself and realize until I'm straight, then I'm in no position to be able to criticize others.
Thank you. Right. Yeah. So George talks there about the self-imposed limitations, and also encouraging people to embrace change, not seek safety all the time, because that limits us. We've talked about this before. And this is a time of change that we're going through right now. So for those who cannot embrace change, nothing is permanent. I mean, we are on a satellite, a planetary satellite hurtling through space at 67,000 miles an hour. Nothing is standing still. It looks like it is, but it's not. Everything changes, and the world around us is changing. And yeah, I think all this thing and in the unity consciousness and everything like that comes along by realizing we are all connected. It's a beautiful thing. So that's all I'm going to say on that piece. But Jolie, what do you think?
I think that was a nice sum up, John.
Thank you. Should we move on to the next section?
Absolutely.
Grand. Here we go.
Any time of the day, any situation you're in, you can get control of yourself just by sitting quietly and by turning off from the external problems we have. Noise and all this society, that you can go inside yourself where it's always calm and peaceful. On this level of consciousness, it's like the ocean, which is always changing, and the bottom of the ocean is always calm and still. And if you're not anchored to the bottom of the ocean, you're at the mercy of whatever change goes on. So that you can still act out your life on the surface, but you remain anchored securely.
Right. That was a quick one. But again, I think it was just worth pausing on that one because, you know, this idea of switching off from the noise of life, right, which I think is so important, because if we don't do that, we're encouraged to be busy 24/7, you know, whether it's the TV on, whether it's this, whether you're at work, whether you're traveling to it, you know, it's just constant. So what you have to do is work yourself some time so that you can actually go within. And it's a beautiful experience. You know, you're not missing anything. You're actually missing something by not tapping in. So I would always encourage people to actually do that. And I love that analogy there of, you know, finding the bottom of the ocean and effectively dropping your anchor down there so that whatever's going on the surface where it can be choppy and stormy, whatever goes on at your personal level, you are unaffected by the surface noise. You have got into that deeper state and are able to cope with whatever the world throws at you. So, Jolie, anything to add?
Yes, let's look at the languaging, right? He spoke about basically what he's talking about is grounding your energy. And he explained the importance of why, when you do a creative visualization or meditation, when you ground, you're able to stay rooted, peaceful, and calm, no matter what is going on in your life. So that's the importance. You see how here we see a pattern of George telling you, I've built this skill set, and this is how I access peace. So no excuse, ground your energy.
Brilliant. Yeah. Finding that inner peace is a beautiful thing. On to the
Yes.
next section.
When asked about astral projection, he relates back to experiences he had during meditation. His views on astral projection and death also seem to carry similar traits.
A strange experience when I was in Rishikesh. I went on a meditation course where the object was to meditate deeper and deeper and deeper for longer periods of time, to plug into the divine energy and to raise your state of consciousness and tune in to the subtler states of consciousness, and all those things like walking on the water and dematerializing your body at will are just sort of things that happen along the way. So it's hard to actually explain it, but it was just a feeling of just the consciousness traveling. I don't know where to, and it wasn't up, down, left or right. No body there, but at the same time you don't feel as though you're missing anything. You know, the consciousness is complete. How I see it is that the soul is in this body for a period of time, and then it leaves the body. It's like, in a way, the body is like a suit that you put on.
Do you have any idea where it goes?
Christ said in the Bible about the three cages for the bird of paradise, which is the soul being the bird of paradise, and the three cages being the three bodies that house the soul. And there's the, they call it the causal body, and then around that's the astral body, and then there's the gross physical body. So death is really when the physical body falls off, but the soul's still in two other bodies, so it's then on the astral level.
Right. Okay, so again, another, you know, short, sharp piece, but again, it's really worth dwelling on, because this astral projection thing find really interesting. I look forward to the day when I actually start to do this. I mean, certainly when I'm meditating, in my mind, in my imagination, I go places for sure. The level that George is talking about, and I know that others have achieved this as well, probably Jolie as well for that matter, but certainly I know with Aveen Murray, who we were talking about earlier, I know she's had some very interesting experiences. And one of the ones she talked about, I think she talked about this in the first interview that we did, going back about a year and a half ago. And she was saying that when she traveled, she went across and it looked like it was in America, and there was a house, and there was a porch, and these people were moving things in and out, and she was there, but they couldn't see her. But they had a dog. Aveen loves dogs. So she was kind of motioning towards the dog in this astral state. But the dog knew she was there. It started barking at her, because obviously the dogs can sense certain levels of frequencies that we are not able to. So the dog knew that she was there. Also with Sheila Seppi, I know that she's another one. She was the one who wrote the book about the walk-in souls, the cosmology of the soul. She was talking about when she went flying through on this astral projection thing, and she was there at the Seattle Tower, watching people in the restaurant at the high level, just like, whooshing around the place. But I love all that. But the point that George is making, it is just the consciousness traveling. In other words, what he's saying is that we are not the physical body. We go on beyond the physical body, and we can travel away from the physical body, as indeed we do in our deepest sleep. But Jolie, what do you want to say about that?
Well, astral projection is so effective. And I think the reason why we don't do it is because people really don't believe in it. But when you're dreaming, you're accessing something. Now, we speak about the causal body and the astral body. The causal body stays put, but the astral body, when you go to sleep at night, it travels, and it's connected to you by a limitless silver string at your belly button. And so to astral project, you can begin by, before you go to bed, you say your prayers if you do that. But one of the things you also can do is you say, I have this problem I'd like to solve. Astral body, I need for you to go out while I'm sleeping and gather information to help me solve this problem. And that is another form of astral projection. And that's how you can, when George Harrison talks about controlling or influencing yourself, you can be in control of your environment. This is what he's talking about. Use your soul architecture, or these parts of you, to help you in the physical realm. Because remember, 97% of our intellect is housed within the higher self. The higher self has direct access to the astral body, which then can absorb, your physical body can absorb that information. So just lean in to some of these principles, because they are there, and the ancients and Aveen and me and other people have done it. So you try it.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing, because I've heard so much about like the astral projection. Also, one of the things I heard as well, and again, this sounds a little bit fantastical, but we're never afraid to go there, are we? But they were talking about like dolphins that are trapped within like your SeaWorld type of equivalents, and people inevitably feel sorry for the dolphins because they're trapped in this tiny enclosure relative to the massive ocean. And it's quite understandable that your heart would go out to these creatures that should be out there. But the point was made is that the dolphins actually are very intelligent and very spiritually connected, and that they are often not in their bodies at all. They travel all the time. And the same is true for whales as well. Not that whales are kept in captivity to the same degree, but it's a fascinating thing. It's just, we as humans have kind of been dumbed down a little bit more. And the possibilities for us are limitless when we actually start to realize it.
Yes, I agree.
Thank you, Jolie. Right, let's move it on. Here we go.
We do have control over our actions right at this moment. I think what we are now is the result of our past actions. What we're going to be is going to be the result of our present actions. As again they said in the Bible, that God is not mocked. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. That means the law of karma, action, reaction. So we can, there's certain things that maybe there's no way out, like there's no way I wasn't going to be in the Beatles, even though I didn't know it. In retrospect, I can see it was a setup. But at the same time, I do have control over my actions, and I can, you know, do good actions or bad actions, or like I said, I could try being a pop star forever and going on TV and do concerts and be a celebrity, or I can be a gardener.
Thank you, George. Okay, so again, worth a quick share on that one because again, it comes back to karma. Yeah, I think people are familiar with the concept of karma. What goes around comes around, and you know, paying back karma and the likes. But also, what I like about that is we talk about predetermination, the fact that he was never not going to be in the Beatles. Because again, we drift through life and it seems as though everything is random, when actually so many things are orchestrated. Now, we always get free will and opportunities to react in certain ways. Maybe we take the opportunity, maybe we don't take the opportunity. But we do plan our lives before we come here. We do work with our soul families. We do work with the guides on the other side as to how we want to learn during this lifetime based off what we've done in the past and how this should unfold. So absolutely, I love the fact that George realized that he wasn't in the Beatles by accident. What do you think, Jolie?
Here I am. There's no coincidences. I don't believe in them. I believe that George Harrison was in the Beatles for a reason, and this path led him to the consciousness, and he was able to enlighten a lot of people. So I'm very grateful to George Harrison and his experience, because it's helped me to, you know, because sometimes doing this work, it's so abstract, right? When you're dealing with, we always want to take on the stress and the anxiety, and I'm depressed, and we'll take ownership over all of that. But when it comes to feeling the joy and knowing that we're interconnected and knowing that we are responsible for what our life looks like, now our belief system fails us, right? So
Right.
the fact that George can go ahead and say, you know what, Jolie, you're onto something. I'm also believing this. And John and Elevated Planet, you guys are onto something. So I'm grateful for him and his journey.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, I 100%. I mean, George has been gone from this earthly plane for 22 years or 23 years now, but he's still teaching us. So, you know.
Absolutely right. And even though he spoke on predestination, or possibly there being like, maybe I was always meant to do this, remember that there is a component of free will. And he talked about that, right? You have control over your actions and what you do. But always remember, action is going to generate a reaction from the universe.
Right. Yes. Thank you, Jolie. Here we go. Oh, sorry. Gotta press play. In fact, that was the end of that bit, but we do have to show this little extra here because these were all the people that actually went to the trouble of putting together that footage, for which we are very, very grateful. So there's the shortest little section yet. Oh, hang on a second. We're getting slightly ahead of ourselves there. Right. Apologies. Yeah, so that is the end of the George piece. But why we're going to next, because one of the things, and something came to me the other day, I was thinking about this and I actually wrote something up because, you know, it was 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, like suddenly you get this sudden flash that you got to write something down. You know, I put George died from cancer aged 58. People ask, if you've achieved a higher level of consciousness, how come he couldn't conquer his own cancer? Now, this presupposes that the physical death is a bad thing. Well, it isn't. And we have a life plan and a death plan. We choose an expiry date before we came here, albeit there is more than one. If we've achieved what we set out to achieve, we get to go home early. Because we always think it's a blessing to live a very long life, and it can be, because, you know, to be here in the physical is actually a joyous experience. It is when we get it right anyway. And to live a long life is a fantastic thing. But regardless of, well, let me just carry on anyway. So no one can deny us our life plan, and that includes our chosen expiry date. Even healers like Jesus and such, there were people that they wouldn't heal because they knew that it was their time, and this is what they had chosen through their predestined journey, and nobody would can take that away from them. So, as such, it sometimes appears that healers have failed when they haven't. It is just that they cannot deny us our chosen path. Whether a spirit exits the body at birth or upon achieving a century, this is all part of the plan for soul growth. Often the growth is for the benefit of the people around the dying infant, and yes, everyone involved consented as part of the overall plan. It is not how we understand life to be here in the physical, but it wouldn't be a test if we already knew the answers. As such, we can't control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond to what happens to us. As planned, George exited aged 58 years, and he would have been very happy to do so. It was his time to escape the limitations of the physical body and go back home, having left a legacy that lives on and still influences humanity today. He's still planting those seeds from the other side of the veil. Thank you, George. So that was a 3 o'clock in the morning scribbling, which I suddenly felt impelled to do. Anyway, Jolie.
Yes, I think you summed that up nicely, John. I don't have anything to add to that wonderful thing you scribbled at 3 a.m.
It doesn't happen that often, but it does sometimes. Maybe once every couple of weeks, I suddenly feel compelled. But yeah, so the next section is then delving into the death thing, because, we know that George has gone relatively young in life, and he didn't really, he knew he would transcend beyond death. And therefore, we thought that we would then tap into the God wisdom from Neale Donald Walsch and his conversations with God to explain this over the next 6 minutes. So without interruption, here is God and Neale Donald Walsch.
Can we talk about this death business for a minute?
What do you want to know?
Well, what happens when you die?
What do you choose to have happen?
You mean that what happens is whatever we choose to have happen?
Do you think that just because you've died, you stop creating?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking you.
Fair enough. You do know, incidentally, but I see you've forgotten, which is great. Everything's gone according to plan. When you die, you do not stop creating. Is that definitive enough for you?
Yes.
Good. Now, the reason you do not stop creating when you die is that you don't ever die. You cannot, for you are life itself, and life cannot not be life. Therefore, you cannot die. So at the moment of your death, what happens is you go on living. This is why so many people who have died do not believe it, because they do not have the experience of being dead. On the contrary, they feel, because they are, very much alive. So there's confusion. The self may see the body lying there, all crumpled up, not moving, yet the self is suddenly moving all over the place. It has the experience often of literally flying all over the room, then of being everywhere in the space, all at once. And when it desires a particular point of view, it suddenly finds itself experiencing that. If the soul, the name we will now give to the self, wonders, gee, why is my body not moving? It will find itself right there, hovering right over the body, watching the stillness curiously. Someone enters the room and the soul thinks, who is that? Immediately the soul is in front of or next to that person. Thus, in a very short time, the soul learns that it can go anywhere with the speed of its thought. A feeling of incredible freedom and lightness overtakes the soul, and it usually takes a little while for the entity to get used to all this bouncing around with every thought. If the person had children and should think of those children, immediately the soul is in the presence of those children wherever they are. Thus, the soul learns that not only can it be wherever it wants with the speed of its thought, it can be in 2 places at once, or 3 places, or 5. It can exist, observe, and conduct activities in these places simultaneously, without difficulty or confusion. Then it can rejoin itself, returning to one place again, simply by refocusing. The soul remembers in the next life what it would have been well to remember in this life, that all effect is created by thought, and that manifestation is a result of intention.
What I focus on as my intention becomes my reality.
Exactly. The only difference is the speed with which you experience the result. In the physical life, there might be a lapse between thought and experience. In the spirit's realm, there is no lapse. Results are instantaneous. Newly departed souls therefore learn to monitor their thoughts very carefully, because whatever they think of, they experience. I use the word learn here very loosely, more as a figure of speech than an actual description. The term remember would be more accurate. If physicalized souls learn to control their thoughts as quickly and as efficiently as spiritualized souls, their whole lives would change. In the creation of individual reality, thought control, or what some might call prayer, is everything.
Prayer?
Thought control is the highest form of prayer. Therefore, think only on good things and righteous. Dwell not in negativity and darkness. And even in moments when things look bleak, especially in those moments, see only perfection, express only gratefulness, and then imagine only what manifestation of perfection you choose next. In this formula is found tranquility. In this process is found peace. In this awareness is found joy. To recap then, souls released from the body quickly remember to monitor and control their thoughts very carefully, for whatever they think of, that is what they create and experience. I say again, it is the same for souls still residing with the body, except the results are usually not as immediate. And it is the time lapse between thought and creation, which can be days, weeks, months, or even years, which creates the illusion that things are happening to you, not because of you. This is an illusion, causing you to forget that you are at cause in the matter. As I have described now several times, this forgetting is built into the system. It is part of the process, for you cannot create who you are until you forget who you are. So the illusion causing forgetfulness is an effect created on purpose. When you leave the body, it will therefore be a big surprise to see the instant, obvious connection between your thoughts and your creations. It will be a shocking surprise at first, and then a very pleasant one, as you begin to remember that you were at cause in the creation of your experience, not at the effect of it.
Wonderful. Thank you, God. So I am not really going to get over involved in that, because I think God says it best, really. I don't think I can improve on God. And I do find it fascinating. And it goes on so much. There's actually an awful lot more that we can cover there, which talks about the death process in a deeper sense. And maybe we'll do that some stage in the future. Although I would always recommend the book as well, you know, whether on audio or, you know, the more tactile version. But Jolie, I'm going to bring you in because I am stepping on your meditation toes here.
No worries, no worries. Let's do it quickly. Are we ready?
Yep, I'm just going to...
I really want to we have like 5 minutes. I'm going to show you or demonstrate just how 5 minutes is all you need to ground your energy and to just have your cells start popping with joy. So you want to begin to breathe with the rhythm of your body. For those of you that are in the middle of doing something like cooking or doing your hair, keep doing it. Meditation can take place at any time, at any moment. Just be careful when you're driving or operating a vehicle. All right. So you're going to want to ground your energy. And with your eyes open or closed, I want you to generate, visualize, imagine a grounding cord of a natural earth element connected to between your sit bones, and then grounded and rooted into the core of Mother Earth. It takes place in a split second because you command it to be so. Command for your grounding cord to be cleaned, clear, and filled with gold light. The visualization would be to call in golden, rose-shaped scrubbing bubbles, blanketing the inside and the outside of your grounding cord. Your grounding cord is 6 inches in diameter. Pull in your aura to be 1.5 feet around you. Call your higher self back above you at a comfortable distance above your head. Snap in your astral body. Tell it to come back. Download all of that information that it received while it was out there when you were sleeping. Golden sun above your head. Open the crown of your head like you would the lens of a camera. Open the bottoms of your feet like you would the lens of a camera, and call in earth energy. 15% of a color that resonates with you. Red for action, blue-green for healing, yellow for personal power, confidence, green, self-esteem, self-love, forgiveness. Pink, unconditional love. We want to bring in some indigo for speaking our truth, for some our intuition, and we can do silver for more of a deeper connection with the divine. Bringing in that color as that gold cascades down. It cascades down, and that 15% is moving up the side channels of our legs after it pools in our feet. They meet at that grounding cord in that first chakra, and then they begin to fill you up like water fills up a cup. So this beautiful earth energy of a color that resonates with you is mixing in with this gold, and this beautiful color is becoming gold flecked as it fills up your body. Some of it goes down the grounding cord. So here we are, any of the stress, the anxiety, the fear, the doubt, any of that we are holding on to of the past, unable to let go of the dogmas and the doctrines that are oppressing us and holding us down. Let's take a deep breath in and exhale the rhythm of our bodies. And once and for all, say, I'm ready to let go of this and release all of this negativity. And we turn it a color. We turn it a bright red, whatever we want it to be. And we flush that down and out. First, we locate it in our bodies. I'll walk you through it. Bright red. I have some bright red in my wrist. I have bright red in my chest. I have it in the front of my face, back of my hands, my arms, my creativity, and my thighs. A lot of that energy is there. So I see that, and I say, this depression, this anxiety, this fear, this doubt, you got to go, homie. You got to get out of here. So we flush it down the grounding cord. And as we flush that down the grounding cord, and all of those golden scrubbing bubbles fall away, and that gold light and that Mother Earth energy just chases it all the way down. Like, you got to get out of here. You no longer belong to me. We're sending you down into the core of Mother Earth to turn into positive creative life force energy for anyone to use. And then you bring down that golden sun and you allow it to fill up the spaces and the places in your body that you just moved out that energy, whether it be anger, fear, doubt, worry, or any strong emotion. You're holding it in your body. Turn it a color, send it on out to Mother Earth. See that visualization all the way to its end. So you see that colored energy, whatever color you turned it, the bright red, all the way into Mother Earth. Sizzle, turn into positive creative life force energy. What does that mean? It becomes one with whatever that essence is in the core. And people can now access it when they ground into Mother Earth. This is a beautiful exchange of release and fill up, with then allows you to connect, just like that tree with that root system that has access to that information. Now you do as well. Take a deep breath in with the rhythm of your body. When you're ready, because this essence sprouted out your feet, hands, and crown chakras, filled up your aura layer, removed and resolved that information or what you were ready to let go of and release down into Mother Earth. Put another golden sun above your head. And this time when you bring that one down, it's going to fill up the aura layer, all of your personal space, with this beautiful energy from the divine and from Mother Earth. So you can see that energy spread out your feet, hands, and crown chakras, mixing in with that golden sun, filling up your aura layer, Take that visualization all the way down to the bottom of the aura layer, which is like an egg. And so all of that essence is going to meet underground, right? A little bit underground. As you sit in the center of this aura layer, clean and clear and filled with gold light. So now we're ready to close our feet and hand chakras like we would the lens of a camera, but we stay grounded, rooted into Mother Earth. And we're also going to close our crown chakra like we would the lens of a camera. Take a deep breath in, exhale with the rhythm of your body. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Wonderful.
There you go.
Caroline, that was brilliant. And your timing was excellent as well. But that's really got me that.
I just want to show how simple and easy it is. You can be over here with the curling iron, grounding, pulling your aura in, higher self above you, cooking the rice, bringing gold light into your rice, bringing gold light, just start using these principles in your everyday life. And it's a recipe for success.
Yes. Whenever I'm cooking or I've got my curling irons in my hair, I'm going to be doing it. Trust me.
Exactly. Try it out.
I will.
See how it
I
makes
will.
you feel.
Okay, brilliant. Well, we're going to send the newsletter out tomorrow with the recorded version of this. As I said before, anybody ever has any questions for us or wants to join our distribution list, reach me at johndrew@elevatedplanet.life. And you can also contact us through our website, which is elevatedplanet.life/contact page. So there you go. Thank you, Jolie. Really enjoyed this.
And thank you, community, Elevated Planet, Nos Populi. We love you.
Yeah, sure do. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.